Hello, everyone. Welcome to Aptera Owners Club. Before I forget, there is a Discord channel in the description below. We have over 200 members now, so feel free to join us if you want to join us on Discord. Everyone is welcome. We have some pretty nice discussions in there from time to time, and people are always kind of hanging out there. So yeah, use the link in the description to join that. All right, so this is the video about the highlights of the recent Aptera Ambassadors meeting. I almost didn't make this video because I don't know how interesting it'll be, but I promised you guys I would make a highlights video and let you guys know what was in the meeting. So here's the highlights video. So here's the agenda. First, they talked about the Aptera code, which we'll go into a little bit later. And then they had updates from the communications, events, and government relations committees. So the Aptera ambassadors are encouraged to join one of these committees, depending on what your interests are. The communications committee obviously deals with media outlets and social media and engaging with the community and leaving comments and stuff on community websites to help Aptera. And so then the events program is for there's a lot of like more local events that people can get involved in, like local car shows or energy shows or sustainability events. And then the Aptera ambassadors can be sort of representatives of Aptera, and Aptera will support them by giving them materials and information to be their representatives at these events. And obviously corporate Aptera would be doing the bigger events like CES and the LA Auto Show and things like that on their own. And the government relations is basically lobbying for things like the tax credits and changing the rules to allow people to drive Aptera without a helmet in the few states that still require that. And maybe like changing the rules so that like you don't need to have an actual mirror on the Aptera, which we currently have to do, and they're having to change beta to accommodate that. Then they had the beta reveal with Jason Hill. Now Aptera has asked us not to release pictures or too much information from that beta reveal until they do it themselves, which will probably happen in the next couple of weeks. So we will honor their request and not give any information about that quite yet. And then there was the Q&A, which we've already posted that, and that had most of the information that people outside of ambassadors are interested in. All right, so, and then they introduced 2 new members of their team. All right, so the Aptera code, Aptera hired a company called Archetype Discoveries, and it's run by this gentleman named Clotaire Rapet, and I'm probably butchering his name because I'm terrible with French names, but Dr. Rapet is evidently a very famous market researcher, and he runs this company called Archetype Discoveries, and what they do is they help companies understand their customer better and understand what their core values are and what their brand means so that they can present themselves in a better way to within their own organization and to the outside world and to customers. So here is this is from their Archetype Discoveries website, and they help you understand the unspoken needs of your customer. They give you knowledge about what are the unconscious language that your customers are speaking so that you can speak to them with their what their unspoken wants and needs are. And then within your organization, it helps you kind of speak the same language within your own team and gives you a plan of action for your marketing team. Obviously, his company is very successful because he has been hired as a marketing consultant by brands like GE, LG, DuPont, Pfizer, Mercedes-Benz, Procter & Gamble, and then all these other companies that we are probably very familiar with. And so I don't know if you guys remember a couple of weeks ago, or was it a couple of months ago, they invited a bunch of people to come down to Aptera and participate in a marketing research discussion with them. As it turns out, that event was most likely an event where they were talking to this Archetype Discoveries company when they were down there to try to figure out what their brand is about. And so what they do is they get respondents and they do this what they call imprinting sessions, where they ask people to do free association about the brand and what interested them in the brand and Aptera and things like that. And then they have this model where they say that the reptilian brain is the final arbiter of the decisions of people. There's this somewhat outdated model of cognitive science, which uses the cortex limbic system and the reptilian brain and uses this model, but that's the model that they're going with, and obviously it works. So they hired them, and they came up with this code, and the code is, Aptera's code is movement. And so basically, I guess after all that marketing research with customers and things like that, they had research sessions with over 200 people. Dr. Rapay's company said that Aptera's code is movement because basically movement is life, and Aptera gives people freedom to do movement. And their plans are to not, the Aptera Roadster, this current three-wheel vehicle, is their first product, and they have ambitious plans to have all different kinds of products in the future, like trucks and vans and regular sedans, and possibly even things like boats and stuff. That's way in the future. But anyway, they've discovered that their code is movement, and they have a plan for their marketing team. So hopefully this thing was very useful for the team, and it seemed like they were pretty excited about it. So I'm glad that that's working out. And so they introduced us to two new members of their team. One of them is Kaylee Venn. Kaylee Venn, if you are on the Aptera community, she's at Kaylee Venn here, and you'll see her respond to some of the posts that people make in the Aptera community forum. And then if you look at her LinkedIn profile, it looks like she's a San Diego native. She's been in San Diego for a long time, and she's a graduate of San Diego State University. And then the next person on their team was Brooke Engerman. She is their new public relations manager, so she's going to be dealing with major media outlets and larger influencers and things like that. And she recently joined at the same time that Kaylee did in January of this year, and it looks like she moved into San Diego from elsewhere to join the team. So that's pretty exciting. If you look at careers at Aptera, they are still looking for this technical writer and the battery test engineer and the functional safety engineer. And then there's a customer success associate. That's Kaylee's position. She's actually has been introduced as the community lead. So I think she's going to handle a lot of the email questions, because if you guys have emailed them, you probably know that the email communication can be a little slow, probably because they're getting hammered by like thousands of people emailing them, and they just don't have enough manpower to adequately respond to all the emails. So Kaylee's helping out with that, and maybe they're looking, I don't know if this is her position that's been filled and they haven't updated the website, or if they're looking for another person to do the same job because there's just so much work to do. And then there was someone named Ann Cox who was their brand ambassador program manager for a little while. She didn't stay there long. I think that they maybe had two different visions. Whatever reason, they parted ways. Ann Cox, she seemed very nice when I talked to her a couple of times. And but for whatever reason, they parted ways, and they're looking for another brand ambassador program manager. Okay, and then they went to the beta reveal, which we'll talk about in a few weeks, hopefully, when they allow us to make that public. And then they had the Q&A, which we've already posted. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all there was in this ambassador webinar. It was a lot of housekeeping for ambassador stuff, which is not of too much interest to people outside of the ambassador program. But it was cool to have the Q&A with Chris Anthony. He looked very relaxed and seemed very confident in the direction that the company was going, and the marketing people seemed very energized by this consultation they had with Dr. Rapay's team. and they are growing their marketing team and growing their engineering team. So things seem like they're headed in the right direction. And so that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. And if you guys have any comments, comment below. And thanks for watching again.